This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
What up? How we doing, Rye?
Are we live?
We are live.
Oh, shit. Live. Yeah, welcome in, everybody.
Where is the fantasy trucker today? The people want to know. They loved the review from New Haven yesterday. Where are we at?
Oh, man, that pizza was so good yesterday. Today, I am in Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland,
Ohio, man. On my way back to Michigan. I'll be there tomorrow making my delivery and then be back home for the weekend. So pretty stoked about that, let me tell you.
Love it. Do we still see some signs of LeBron James around the city? What's the Cleveland vibe?
Cleveland vibe's pretty quiet over here. Not too much going on, as I would imagine. Not much is usually going on in Cleveland, but it is what it is.
Very good.
How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm very good. I'm just looking over our rankings here, and this is where things start to get a little bit interesting, I guess.
Yeah, we're talking about what, like 41 to 60 here in Dynasty?
41 to 60 today. I think we need to do a proper intro. Did we do an intro yet?
I feel like that was an intro.
That was the intro. Yeah, we're talking Dynasty Wide Receivers 41 to 60 at Kulz Sports, at Fantasy Trucker.
You know where to find us.
We're your hosts. You know where to find us on Twitter.
Check us out at youtube.com/sportsethos.
Yeah, we especially yesterday's episode. We're starting to do every live recordings at 11 a.m. just like when the podcast releases, and going to try to tie in some fun content with video. So youtube.com/sportsethos. Shoot that a subscribe so that you can get notifications when we drop, but should be every day at 11 a.m. So
yeah. And sorry, I no food review today, guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just nothing good from Cleveland.
Nothing in the dog pound. No dog food for you.
Yeah, no, I'm good. But Mike, I think we should just hop right in and get into it, huh? Let's do
it. Let's do it. Buckle up.
All right. All right, go ahead, Mike. Start us off.
Yeah, let's just talk about the Chiefs wide receiver room. We have multiple players kind of in this tier here from 41 to 60. I think we'll just kind of like segment it out by different topics, I guess you can call it, or different groupings, and then we'll go ahead and list off our rankings when that time comes. But let's talk Chiefs wide receivers. I have Kadarius Toney at 43. You have him at 42. I have Rashee Rice at 49. You have him at 52. And then you have Sky Moore down at 56, and I have him at 57. So let's talk a little bit about the order of which we have them and who you like in that room and what kind of is going on there.
Yeah, if I have them ranked in that order: Toney, Rashee Rice, Sky Moore.
I do as well.
Toney's just like that gadget player who's just fun to watch, and they seemed pretty excited when they acquired him last year from the Giants. He should be a focal point of that offense. You're going to see some really unique plays coming from Andy Reid. And Kadarius Toney, they're going to get him the ball in open space. But with Toney, you got to be ready because there's a wide range of outcomes with him. Is he going to be able to stay healthy? I think if he is going to stay healthy, he's going to be pretty productive in that system. I don't know. What's your gauge on Toney?
Yeah, I don't think it's only physical health that Toney needs to stay, but also mental health. We saw him today recently. He just shot off a bunch of DMs at Giants fans that were pretty bad.
I saw that.
He came out and said that he was hacked. He seems like a pretty young, fiery, dare I say dumb. He just needs to keep it together and keep it focused on football and trust the Chiefs system, trust Pat Mahomes, and almost like how, some of these players would go to the the Patriots and kind of get their act together. We need to see that happen here in the wide receivers room in order for him to have success, because they're not going to allow bullshit to enter the locker room like that. Not when they're as good as they are, and you have leaders like Kelsey and Mahomes on that offense. So I don't know, man. I see Tony, I see Rashee Rice, and I see Sky Moore. Like anything, they can end up being in any order. We don't know who that wide receiver one is currently or who it will be. Tony certainly has the talent and probably the most experience. But Sky Moore is trying to transition into a receiver and like become a legitimate NFL receiver. And then Rashee Rice seems like he's kind of like has a good like prototype.
I think he's the biggest wide receiver in that room. He's like 6'2", 203. He's pretty big compared to Sky Moore and Tony, that is. Yeah.
So, who knows? I mean, Rashee Rice can come in and develop like a lot of chemistry early on with Mahomes. And once Mahomes feels that, he just is going to invest time and develop him into being a huge asset for the offense. So, I could certainly see Rashee Rice having a breakout year here. There's just so much up for grabs. But as of now, the safe thing is just to go Tony, Rice, Sky Moore in that order for Dynasty.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, my projection, the way that they're all going to fit in the system, I think Sky Moore is going to be the deep threat. I think he's going to catch those deep balls. So kind of like what MVS was in previous years. I'm not big on MVS. That's why we're not really talking about him in this grouping. He's a little bit further down for me, but I could see Sky Moore being the deep threat. Kadarius Toney be the possessional kind of guy, short yardage. He'll get you the yards that he needs to get you. And Rashee Rice might be the contested catch guy that, when you need a big play, you can go to Rashee Rice. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's something I think we'll see play out relatively early, and you'll probably hear a lot of hype. These guys' ADPs will probably shift pretty significantly based on camp hype and how it looks in the preseason and first few weeks of the season. So keep an eye on that.
Definitely.
And feel free to reach out. I want to be more once the season starts, I want to be active and engaged with our listeners and really like help out and respond to, specific questions based on teams that you guys own or whatever it may be, however we can help. I definitely want to have a lot of listener engagement. So
I couldn't agree more.
So anyways, that next tier of wideout, you have Jaden Reed, you have Josh Downs, you have Jonathan Mingo, Rashee Rice, Marvin Mims. So let's go ahead and talk about them. And why don't you start off and tell us who you got?
Yeah, I believe I have Marvin Mims the highest out of all of these rookies in this kind of grouping. And that's just because, Sean Payton runs a great offense. And I could see Mims being that deep threat pretty early on with Russell Wilson. Russell throws a great deep ball. I mean, the guy's a gunslinger at heart. I don't think that's going to change. I do think he has a better season this year, as we've talked about in previous episodes. But yeah, I mean, Jaden Reed is another player we're pretty bullish on. I know he's gotten some hype pretty early on, but it's kind of cooled off as of recently. But, all these rookies that in this grouping, I could easily see take a huge step up in the rankings next season and kind of be some pretty trustworthy guys moving forward.
Yeah, I like Jaden Reed. You've heard nothing but good things from him so far. I have him at 46. Then Mims at 48. You talked briefly about him. I mean, he was a stud for Oklahoma. Really stretches the field. We know how Russell, connected and helped Lockett evolve as a receiver. So if he finds that role, that could be very beneficial. I do like Judy as he's kind of that deep threat in my mind too. So it'll be interesting how that plays out. Jonathan Mingo, to be completely honest, I just don't know that offense has so much to figure out. I don't know where he's going to fit in. I know you're pretty high on him.
Well, that wide receiver room is pretty wide open to me. There's nobody that is guaranteed to be the number one target for Young. So, he's 6'2", 220 pounds. Like, he has the archetype to be a true number one receiver. And if he builds a connection with Bryce early on, man, I could see him being a pretty good piece for them.
Yeah, really anything could happen. I don't know. I mean, there's such a wide range of outcomes in any of these offenses where all of there's questions still have to be answered. Like, we're going to find out. I mean, that's where you see a lot of movement on these rankings boards is we're taking our best guess out of how things are going to shake out in those offenses and just kind of having our rankings reflect that.
Yeah, and I just think this Carolina team is going to be a lot better than people think. So,
yeah. What about Josh Downs?
Josh Downs is interesting. He's, it's hard to have excitement towards any Colts wide receiver, and I'm sure you feel the same way. I don't know. The only thing that's intriguing about Josh Downs is that Reggie Wayne came out and said that he thought that Josh Downs was the best wide receiver prospect in this rookie class. Like he was a target monster in college. He had like some absurd almost 40% target share in that offense in college. And I don't know, he should fit as a slot receiver in Indy. How valuable is that going to be? Time will tell with Anthony Richardson if you can figure it out. But I mean, he should see some decent opportunities this year.
Yeah, I certainly like him as a wide receiver. He was one of the guys I had my eyes on pre-draft, and then he went to the Colts, and I'm not high on him anymore because I'm just so down on Anthony Richardson, like probably more than most people are.
Yeah, I would say so.
So that's kind of how I feel there. Anyways, I don't know. Let's talk about some of these younger guys. Well, let's talk about some of these younger guys who are looking to take that next step in their career and really solidify their role and their trajectory here in the NFL. And I want to start with someone who is in Believeland. He's trying to rejuvenate his career. I think he's going to. I think he's an incredible talent. I think he has a quarterback who is trying to rejuvenate his career as well. They have developed a pretty amazing chemistry, as we've heard so far in camps. And I think they're going to really take that jump and develop kind of that rebirth they're both looking for. They're going to find it together and have a lot of success together. And that's Eli Moore.
Yeah. Elijah Moore. Absolutely. Yeah. I think he's one of the best values in drafts. Like he's being drafted way too low. I'm gobbling him up everywhere I can. He's just crazy talented, and he should be heavily involved in this offense. The Browns, as I've read, are trying to emphasize a fast tempo offense. And, he should be, he's been a standout target so far this offseason. There's been plenty of reports. I've seen a couple highlight videos on, I think you sent me a few of them where Deshaun Watson hits him in the flat, and they look good together, man. I don't know. I could see Elijah Moore having a huge season this year.
Yeah, I love Elijah Moore. He's one of my favorite value picks. I have him as a sleeper 100%. So I couldn't really be higher on Eli Moore. Kind of like I said, I was probably the lowest person in the industry on Anthony Richardson. I'm probably, I don't know. He's been catching a lot of hype, but I'm definitely been riding that train for quite a while.
Yeah, you have definitely been the conductor of that train, in my opinion. However, the train's getting pretty full as of recently. I see a lot of people talking about him.
Yeah.
A lot of people grabbing him in drafts. Like people are kind of catching on to his upside and the Browns offense as a whole. So,
yeah, everyone get off the train. You heard from Ryan. I am the conductor. This train is full. We are moving forward. I'm so glad you're in Cleveland because I am high on the Browns. I'm high on Deshaun Watson. Let's go Dogs.
Yeah, Dog Pound. They got a new logo and everything.
Yeah, so moving on from him, I mean, we've already said our piece on Cortland Sutton. We've said our piece on Tyler Lockett. What about Rashad Bateman? We talked a little bit there, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, Rashad Bateman's just I don't know. I feel like people are chalking him up to be Lamar Jackson's number one wide receiver, and I just don't know if that's really the case right now. Like, yeah, it seems that way, but he hasn't played much. He missed the last 11 weeks due to the Liz Frank injury. He missed his first 5 games due to an abdominal surgery. Like, I know, yeah, he was a first round pick, but I don't know. I just don't think he's guaranteed to be that number 2 target for Lamar Jackson. And I don't know if he can stay healthy and he has a full season with Lamar and Lamar gets better, I can see him being a breakout candidate. But I don't know. I think I'm kind of betting against that one.
Yeah, I'll say what I was gonna say when you said his number one receiver, Lamar Jackson's number one receiver. My comment was going to be like, even if he's Lamar Jackson's number one receiver, he's not going to be his number one target.
I obviously he seems to be like he'll be the wide receiver 1 on the team.
You know,
you know what I'm trying to say there.
No, exactly. That was my point. I was going to build on it by saying, like, I don't know that he's going to be that wide receiver 1. I personally think Zay Flowers, just the type of receiver he is, fits better in that offense.
Yeah.
Maybe if Lamar was one of these guys like a Russell Wilson who wants to throw that deep ball more, maybe, but I don't know. I think that Zay Flowers, we already talked about him, but I think he fits that offense a lot better. So I do have Rashad Bateman a little bit lower at 45, whereas I have Flowers up at 28. So that's a pretty significant gap there.
Yeah, they're both young too, so that kind of shows what your gauge is at,
Yep, absolutely. Another guy that I want to talk about is Nico Collins.
I love me some Nico Collins this year.
Yeah. I do as well. I have him at 52. You have him at 60. I have him at 52 because I think he had a sneaky good year last year and looked really good.
Yeah.
He looked like a true receiver on that team. So I expect him to kind of be the first man up that steps up and kind of leads things in that Houston wide receiver room and gets Stroud feeling good and kind of, caught up to speed here in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, he's the biggest wide receiver there. He's 6'4", 215 pounds. To me, he's a breakout candidate. I'm going to be moving him up in my rankings. Reports are already coming out. He appears to be Stroud's favorite target during the offseason programs. And I think he'll be the best receiver in that room this year. But I don't know. I just feel like this Texans team is going to look very different in the next few years. Like, Tank Dell looks great too, but he's real tiny. I don't know. I just don't think that wide receiver room is solidified for like the next 5 years as of right now, the way it looks. It could look different in a couple of years.
Yeah. We'll find out. I mean, that's going to be one of the more interesting developments. Him and Bryce Young kind of in a similar situation, both come into the league, but don't really have any surefire pieces with them.
Yeah, they both drafted young wide receivers, but they're not really highly stouted. So you're absolutely right. It's going to be interesting, those two, the way that shakes out.
Yeah. Another wide receiver room that needs to shake out. We talked about Jaden Reed. I want to talk about Romeo Doubs. He's been getting some glowing reviews too, man. Like, Christian Watson is the athletic freak in that room. Jaden Reed seems to be the sure-handed slot, but Romeo Doubs has been getting some pretty glowing reviews here lately, and they're saying that he looks like he's developed the best chemistry right now and is the most trusted by Love. That's all talk. We'd love to see it on the field, and that's another wide receiver room. Like, you would think Watson is being, the alpha in that room. However, I think Doubs is the best value today based on in both Dynasty and redraft, based on his ADP and where his ceiling could rise to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I related a lot to what we were just talking about with Bateman and Flowers in Baltimore, how, yeah, Watson is the number one wide receiver for the team, but it's very possible that Dobbs out targets him this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we need to get too in. Like when we go through the divisional breakdowns, we're gonna break down each team by team, so we can go and rehash like looking at it from this season scope. So we're just kind of like giving you our thoughts on where we currently have them from a long-term landscape, and a lot of that still has to play out. So you're seeing a lot of guys in this kind of tranche that have a lot to play out, and we'll see what happens this season. That narrative will be written a little bit more, but anyways.
Yeah, just take your chance, plant your flag on a couple of these guys and see how it plays out. You might be able to hit the lottery on a couple of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna just move on to where I start naming out my rankings, and if there's someone you want to talk about, maybe highlight them, cut me off, and we'll talk about them. But I don't think we need to sit here and dive into each person. I think we can just kind of list off our rankings here and kind of see how things shake out.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that we were able to go pretty thorough with the top, say, top 40 receivers here. This bottom half, they're ranked down here for a reason. Like we were talked about with the running backs. There's just not much to talk about with them. Yeah, they're intriguing. There's a possibility they could blow up and have some sustained success, but as of right now, they're all kind of dart throws. They're all risky picks. So
yeah, I think it's important to understand like the ceiling, like what their ceiling and floor looks like, and what the variables, so that you can assess the risk and make your decision that way on these players. I like this little grouping a lot because I take hard stances on guys and then I go ahead and get them in trades. So I think you're going to see us talk about these guys a lot more, like in our sleepers section that we'll release next week. But let's there's a when you say like we went really thorough in the players at the top of the ranks, we could talk all day about these guys, but it's all going to be speculation. It's not solidified roles. So
definitely.
Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and do my 41 to 50 right now. I got Tyler Lockett 41, Elijah Moore, Kadarius Toney, Cortland Sutton, Rashad Bateman. 46, I have Jaden Reed, Mike Williams, Marvin Mims, Rashee Rice, and then Jonathan Mingo there at 50.
Yeah, and I have Keenan Allen at 41, followed by Kadarius Toney, Mike Williams, Tyler Lockett, Cortland Sutton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Marvin Mims, Jaden Reed, Elijah Moore, and Josh Downs rounding out my top 50.
Yeah, and then here we go at 51. Rondale Moore, I have at 51. Nico Collins, Romeo Dobbs, Juju Smith-Schuster, Darnell Mooney, Wan'Dale Robinson, Sky Moore, Gabe Davis, Brandon Cooks, and Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, that looks like a good list to me. I got Jonathan Mingo, Rashee Rice, Gabe Davis, Brandon Cooks, Darnell Mooney, who, by the way, I mean, did you see? This guy looks jacked this year.
Yeah,
have you seen this? Did you saw that picture of him?
Sure, I sent it to you.
Yeah, you sent it to me. I think so. Yeah, Dub Bears, watch out. Darnell Mooney, I have at 55. Then Sky Moore, Wan'Dale Robinson, Rondale Moore, Romeo Dobbs, and Nico Collins.
Yeah, let's talk about Darnell Mooney a little bit, since you are the resident Bear guy, Bear Don. Tell me about Mooney. How do you think he fits in this offense, both this year and in the future?
I think he has a bright future. He was kind of miscast over the last couple of years as the quote unquote Bears number one receiver. He was never that. Like he never should have been that. But because of the lack of weapons the Bears had, he kind of just had to fit that role, and he did it pretty well in my opinion. But now that we have a real number one wide receiver in DJ Moore, I think Darnell Mooney has the best season he's ever had. I think he takes steps. He's gotten bigger. He's not that skinny receiver anymore. He's actually got some meat on his bones now. And if you haven't checked out that picture, go check him out. He looks jacked. Okay. Jacked. I'm excited about Darnell Mooney. Even Claypool. I know you're high on Claypool, so we'll talk about that. From what conversations we've had recently, you're making me feel like you're pretty high on Claypool. So once we dive into the NFC North, we'll really find out exactly what our gauge is. But man, I'm excited about Darnell Mooney. I think he'll have a bright career with Chicago if he stays with it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I hate Claypool like as a person for sure, but like I just think he's so low and his talent is actually very high. So it's like,
yeah, he's kind of being left for dead right now.
You want to take a last round best ball shot on Chase Claypool? Like it was only last year they gave up a 31 overall pick or whatever, that 36 overall, whatever the
32
overall pick for him. Like, but anyways, we'll get into the Bears. We'll get into that wide receiver room a little bit more. So
can't wait.
You know what I noticed is that I have the sun in front of me and I've been squinting this whole episode and it really shows I got 2 scars right here in the middle of my eyes and it really, really shows those very,
really highlights
defined.
Those.
Yeah, it's nice. Maybe we'll get into those stories another time, but,
okay.
Yeah, anyways.
All right. Well, I think that about does it. Thanks for tuning in. Again, check us out on Twitter. Check us out on youtube.com/sportsethos. And stay tuned and buckle up.
Buckle up, baby.